How do you plead to count 69 in indictment 23 SC 188921?
Guilty.
Is this guilty plea freely and voluntarily given with full knowledge of the charge against you?
Yes.
Do you understand that you have a limited right to appeal this guilty plea conviction?
Yes.
Do you understand that you have 4 years from today to file a habeas corpus petition challenging the voluntariness of your plea?
Yes.
Your Honor, had this case gone to trial, the state would have shown that on December 10th, 2020, this defendant, Mr. Bennett, was gifted a 2021 Mercedes-Benz Maybach by his record label. The defendant drove that vehicle and picked up his co-defendants, Rayvon Boyd, Leroy Pitts, and the decedent, James Adams. Boyd, Pitts, and Adams traveled up from Miami, but were visiting the defendant, Mr. Bennett, in Atlanta. The defendant then drove around the city of Atlanta in that vehicle. Although Bennett himself did not personally possess a firearm, he was aware that there were firearms in the vehicle, to include 2 assault rifles. At some point, defendant Bennett drove to the area of Dimmick and People Street, located in Fulton County. While traveling down Dimmick Street, after passing several individuals who were standing on the street, this defendant stopped his vehicle. The individuals on the street and the individuals in the inside of his vehicle began shooting at each other. This shooting is captured on surveillance video, and the video reflects that after defendant Bennett stopped his vehicle, co-defendants Boyd and the decedent Adams opened the door to the car and began firing assault rifles at Kevin Wright, Nathan Bedford, and others that were on the street at the time. The video shows Nathan Bedford and Kevin Wright and others shooting back at the vehicle. During the exchange of gunfire, the decedent James Adams sustained a gunshot wound to his torso that caused his death. After shots were fired, defendant Bennett drove off in the Maybach, which then turned onto People Street. The individuals in the vehicle attempted to pull decedent Adams' body back into the vehicle, but were unsuccessful. As a result, they left his body on People Street and left the scene. After leaving the scene, he drove the vehicle to his father's house to conceal the vehicle following the shooting. The facts and evidence would further establish that defendant Bennett is an associate of the Bloods, a criminal street gang operating here in Atlanta and elsewhere. Defendant Bennett demonstrated his association in part by appearing in rap videos with members of the Bloods while displaying gang signs and wearing gang colors. The basis of the state's reduction, Judge, is essentially this defendant has no criminal history. We have spoken with the family in this particular case, and they have maintained throughout the course since this incident occurred that they were on board with the recommendation. They are more than amenable to the defendant's request at this point. And they have also, as you are aware from the facts, is the defendant's level of culpability in this particular incident. He was the driver of the vehicle, and he didn't have a weapon during the time of this incident. And this is out of the 80-something counts in the indictment, Judge, this is the one incident that this particular defendant is a part of. So given those things, we did take that into consideration, and that's the recommendation that we are presenting before the court.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Christian.